All right, good day, everybody. Wherever you are, I'm so happy and I'm so excited to be bringing this to you. It's a very, very big package from CMRC, Creative Mind Real Concept. And I'm most privileged to be the innovator, the initiator of this program. It is a very, very big success to bring this to you. Free Success Project 2025. And this year, I am so happy. We have amazing facilitators, persons who are selfless, who are passionate, who are explicit in every ramification of their discipline, and they will blow your mind. So I want you to keep your tabs and start watching these videos and get excellent results and come back to tell us, and we'll rejoice with you. God bless you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Adedoyin Oguntade, and I'll be taking literature. Before I proceed, I just wanted to understand that this video is brought to you by CMRC. So, getting to it, to understand literature, one thing is very, very pivotal and important, and that's the understanding of the genres of literature. So I'm going to take it from there, from the genres of literature, then we get to the other necessary parts of literature that are very much necessary for UTME. So starting with, all right, so basically we have three genres of literature, and those genres are drama, prose, and poetry. So we'll start with drama. Drama is from the Greek word dran, and it has to do with doing or acting. According to Aristotle, he defined drama as an imitation of life. So basically, when we are talking about drama, we're talking about the ways in which actions are carried out and how individuals, basically in drama, dialogue is something that is very, very important. Dialogue plays a key role. Under drama, we get to understand that drama is written in acts and scenes. I think one thing that UTME candidates needs to understand is how all of these things work. For drama, we say drama is written in acts and scenes. For prose, it is written in chapters and paragraphs. And for poetry, it's written in stanza and length. So one thing that is needed here is that there are always questions that ask about things respectively. For example, one could have a question that says something like, prose is written in chapters and paragraphs, and poetry is written in dash and dash respectively. Please ensure that you put the answers in the right order. Even if you know the answers and the answers are not in the right order, then you get it wrong. So try as much as possible to ensure that you always put things within the right order. So for drama, basically, under drama is where we get to talk about the different forms that exist. Where we talk about tragedy, we talk about comedy, and we talk about tragicomedy. So when we're talking about tragedy, we're talking about a kind of work that has this somber tone, and it's very, very serious, and it explores the subject of sadness and flaws and different sets of things happening. But for comedy, on the other hand, we're talking about a kind of work that gives room for humor, laughter, and all. And for tragicomedy is like a fusion of both. And it's under tragicomedy that you find something like a comic relief. A comic relief basically is this kind of action that takes place to reduce the tension amongst characters in a particular work after a tragic happenstance. Now that aside, moving to prose. Under prose is from the Latin word prosa, which means straightforward. Basically, if we're talking about prose, we're talking about how it got its origin from belles lettres, beautiful letters, basically. And under prose is where we get to discuss things like fiction and non-fiction. So under fiction, we're talking about something that is imagined, is created. And under fiction is where we discuss things like supernatural work, mystic works, and the rest. But under non-fiction, we're talking about works that are real life events that are being documented. We talk about things like journalistic works, journals, scientific reports, biographies, autobiographies. We even talk about memoir. Yeah, and I would like to make a distinction between an autobiography and a memoir. When we're talking about an autobiography, we're talking about the story of a person's life that is written by that same person. But it talks about the story of a person's life probably from childhood up to the present moment. And a very good example is Ake, Years of My Childhood by Wole Soyinka. That aside, but for memoir is quite different in the sense that a memoir just talks about a specific event within a person's life. It doesn't talk about everything. It just picks out a very significant event and then explore the tenets of that particular event. Aside that, we have some other forms under prose, and those are the likes of Bildungsroman. When we talk about Bildungsroman is a novel that talks about growth and development. And when we're talking about this growth and development is not restricted to physical growth and physical development. It explores the idea of psychological growth, emotional growth, and different forms. And a very good example that we have under the prescribed text for UTME this year is Second Class Citizen by Buchi Emecheta. In Second Class Citizen by Buchi Emecheta, the protagonist there, Ada, you'd see that she moves from being a child to being an adult, and then she learns the whole facet of life and is able to adapt to all of these things. That's a very good example of a Bildungsroman. Aside Bildungsroman, we also have a picaresque. When we're talking about picaresque, we're talking about a novel that is about a rogue. It explores the life of a vagabond, how an individual just carries out different sets of actions. So one thing under prose is that we in literature basically you just need to understand the concept. It's not all about understanding or being able to recite the definition verbatim, because understanding the concept of these things is very, very important. If you understand the concept very well, you'll be able to approach questions in whatsoever manner that the questions come in. So moving on, we have poetry. For poetry, it's under poetry that we say things like the well accepted definition, that of William Wordsworth, that says poetry has to do with spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions recollected in tranquility. Now, Wordsworth's definition was accepted majorly because it kind of gave this overview of what poetry is really about. Poetry is something that is meant to appeal to emotions, basically. There is this idea of emotions. That's why someone like Percy by Shelley stated that if he reads something and then feels cold, feels hot, then that's poetry. And Coleridge even stated himself that prose has to do with words in their best order, while poetry has to do with best words in their best order. So that gives you the idea that poetry has the ability to encode ideas and encode things, basically. And it's under poetry that we discuss things like poetic license, the freedom that is given to poets to write in whatsoever manner they want to write. Under poetic license is where you can have something like inversion, where in normal grammar we say something like is coming, and in inversion you would say things like coming is he. These things are allowed in poetry. Now, under poetry, we actually have forms. We have ballad, which is a narrative form, a kind of story that is passed down from one generation to another orally. Aside ballad, we have pastoral poems, we have elegy, we have dirge. Now, the elegy and dirge are quite different, although they explore the same subject, which is subject of sorrow, death, and loss. But for elegy is said to be written and quite longer, while a dirge is sung. And for dirge comes immediately after the mournful event, while it doesn't really have any form of optimism at the end of it. But for an elegy is more of a reflective form that gets to reflect on things that have happened far back in the past. And a very good example of dirge amongst the recommended texts is Song of Women of My Land, yeah, by Omar Farouk Sesi. In that poem, Omar Farouk Sesi explores the idea of how time cheats the women of his land. They were subjected to servitude and decided to sing. But eventually, time still comes to take away the lyrics of this their song. That's an example of a dirge, because we call that poem a dirge about a dirge. But still under poetry, we explore things like lyrical poetry and ode. Yeah, ode is a praise poem, and under praise poetry we have like three different forms. We have ode, we have panegyric, and we have eulogy. Under ode, we talk about a kind of poem that highlights the good qualities of a particular thing, and a very good example of that is Black Woman by Leopold Sedar Senghor. In Black Woman by Sedar Senghor, we see that the poet's persona there talks about the black woman and exemplifies the beauty of the black woman. And it gives the black woman a very, very different view as opposed to the view that has always been given to the black woman beforehand. So we have another one, which is eulogy. When we talk about eulogy, we're basically talking about a praise poem that praises the good deeds of a particular person. And for panegyric has to do with praising somebody from the lineage, praising somebody according to what the person's family or ancestral lineage is actually known for. So the basic thing about these genres of literature is that they are actually very, very deep, and it's very necessary that one understands all of these things beyond the surface level, because it's when you get back to something like comedy, which is under drama, that you get to understand that it has different forms. There are different forms under it. So what's advised is that try as much as possible to read beyond the surface level. And a text I would really prescribe for very, very good work in literature is exam focus. If you have exam focus literature, you would be able to cover up all of these things, because even from the first part of exam focus, you have all of the genres of literature with full explanations on them. Under drama, the different forms and the types I explained. Under prose, likewise, poetry, all of these things I explained there. So I'll stop here for now, but in the next video, I'll move to the prescribed text. That's why the drama text, the prose text, and then the literature, and then the prose text and the drama text and poetry text. But before I proceed to all of those things, just get to understand that the things in literature are not so hard. It just has to do with you being calm to understand what all of those elements or what all of those things mean. And understanding literature just goes beyond something you do in a single sitting. You have to consistently engage yourself with all of these things. And I can actually see if you can put in the right amount of work, you will do so well in literature. All right, I remain Adedoyin Oguntade. Thank you very much.
Be sure to link up with us, message us, seek out for our email, send us messages for further questions and mentorship after you have seen these videos. I'm very happy to say this again, that it's a time for you to move on and succeed. It's a free success project 2025. Bless you everywhere that you are. Again, my name is Emmanuel Aderoju Adeyemo from Creative Minds Royal Concept.